Today we're going to talk about mixing mistakes that you should avoid while crafting your mixes. If you want to learn about some of the things that I've picked up over the years or commonly see clients doing, then you need to check out this video. Stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to Distinct Mastering. My name is Freddie. Today we're going to talk about common mixing mistakes that I see a lot of my clients doing and things you should be avoiding in your mixes. Let's get into it. Number one, sometimes while talking to clients on the phone, I've had some of them talk to me about adjusting sounds with the solo button enabled. I do not recommend mixing with the solo button enabled. Think about it this way. If you are listening to an instrument with the solo button enabled, you are listening to it in isolation. And that is not how people are going to listen to your mix. You can often find that when you solo an instrument in a well-crafted mix, it may sound weird or out of place by itself. That's because it was mixed with intent and it was mixed in correlation and relation to the rest of the track. Number two, I find some people get stuck doing the same things, and that is not ideal when you're trying to produce music. Sometimes it's good to try to get out of your regular routines. One time, for example, I sat and recorded myself playing piano for a good 10 minutes, and I was able to pull out a bunch of loops out of that I used in future songs. So try to break your routines and break your habits. The same can go when you're talking about your mixes. Maybe you get stuck doing the same things and using the same plugins. Set up a routine that makes you learn one new plugin a week and try to incorporate that into your workflow. You'd be surprised how that can spark some creativity. Number three, not paying attention to rumble in the low end. I do get a lot of mixes that have a lot of low end issues, and I recently did a video on why your mix should not look like this. Go back and check that out. I'll leave you a link in the description. Sometimes you might not be able to hear that low end rumble, but a spectrum analyzer will tell you it's there. But that does not mean just high pass everything. I did a video a long time ago on that common myth as well. So go back and check that out, link down below. But pay attention to the low end rumble. Number four, mixing too loud. If you mix too loud, you're gonna get an altered perception of low end frequencies and everything's just gonna sound good. But when you turn things down in your mixing, you're gonna be able to carefully craft things as they need to be. Remember, most listeners are listening at nominal volumes. They're not blasting their music. Some are, but you will find that you will get a better crafted mix if you're mixing at a lower volume. So try it out sometime. Number five is not paying attention to phase relationship problems. When I was younger, I was a culprit of this. I would always try to throw things on that created phase cancellation and I wasn't paying attention to it. You need to be very careful with phase shifting plugins, things that can throw things out of phase, because when your mix collapses to mono, say in a Bluetooth speaker or in a phone, you're going to have some problems and sounds are going to disappear. I like to have a phase correlation meter on my master and I like to periodically check it. I also like to mix in mono and I've made a whole video on that. I'll leave you a link down below so you can check that out as well. Number six is overcompensation. A lot of beginners tend to think that they need to do a lot of something, when in reality, it's really just the right amount of something and knowing what that something is to get you where you need to be. That statement right there is so powerful if you really think about it. But a lot of times you'll see beginners take an EQ and boost 9 dB, 12 dB, 24 dB, whatever it might be. And that might be overcompensating. You know, they might throw a compressor on and they're slamming it down minus 20. You don't need to do that. A little bit goes a long way with these tools, especially if you know what you're doing. So if you find yourself overcompensating, back off. Number seven is overcompressed and overlimited. I just did a video on dynamic range, and I suggest you go back and check that out because I show you what overcompression and overlimiting can cause. It can cause distortion, it can cause your tracks to be lifeless, lose all their punch, clarity, and character. So don't overcompress, don't overlimit, try to use things in a proper manner, and if you don't understand the tools, don't use them. Number eight, I'm going to say it again. Not understanding the basic tools. If you don't know what EQ, compression, limiting does, saturation, reverb, delays, I suggest you go and study. Because if you don't know how to use these tools, how do you expect to produce music? Sure, you can play a piano. You can play an instrument, a guitar, drums. But if you want to get in the studio, you're going to need to learn how to use the basic tools. A contractor doesn't build a house without a solid understanding of the tools on his belt. The same goes for a computer programmer. If they're programming something, they're going to know the tools that they need to get from point A to point B. And the same needs to go for audio production. I find a lot of people just open up an Ableton session and just start trying to produce without trying to understand what some of these tools actually do. So I recommend that you do a little basic audio engineering 101 and study these tools. And if you're curious, you can go back through my archives and learn about a lot of these basic tools. Number 9 is a lack of automation use. Automation can be a great friend if you know how to use it right. You can do things like volume automation, pan automation, filter automation. The possibilities are endless. You can even automate your effects sends. Automation can give your mix more character and also make your mix change over time. And that's one of the things that pros do, is they change things over time. A lot of people get tired of listening to the same thing over and over. And automation can give you subtle differences that can really enhance your mix. So make sure you're using automation. Number 10, not paying attention to the details. Sometimes you get things in with clicks and pops, or maybe you've chopped the end of your song and you have this long reverb tail at the end and it's just chopped off. You're clearly not paying attention to the finite details in your mix, and that's not good. Paying attention to all of the details will help you craft a more polished, well-rounded mix. That goes from everything from recording to editing vocals. Whatever it might be, I suggest you pay attention to the details. I've said this one a lot, and I'll say it again. Last but not least is number 11, and I go with this one saying people spending too much time on tracks. I'm going to use a recent example of a friend of mine who was sending me lots of different mixes after weeks of listening and changing his mix, and he asked me, what I thought on one of those songs. There were like 8 masters I had to do, and honestly, I listened to 3 or 4 of the same songs mixed back to back, and I had already told him on the phone that I felt like you turned this synth up too loud and you did this different. And when I listened to all the mixes, it ended up being his first mix that I told him was spot on. You're going through and you're changing all this stuff, trying to get these diminishing returns that, hi-hat up 1 dB, down dB, synth up, synth down. It's not giving you that much of a difference, and to the end listener, they're not going to really care about that. They're going to care about the music and the arrangement. They're not going to care about the finite mix details. I feel like you lose some of the soul when you go push that far. So just remember, try to set a deadline and a time limit on yourself. Give yourself goals and just meet those goals. And if it's time to move on, move on. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Freddie from Distinct Mastering. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and the bell notification will keep you up to date. And if you're looking for any mastering, please do hit the free sample link at the bottom of this video. In the description, you can find I offer all first-time clients 1 free stereo mastered sample. Once again, my name is Freddie from Distinct Mastering, and have a great day.